rock, water, and earth. At DLF Golf and Country Club, they are not simply elements of the landscape, they are part of the game. Fairways climb and fall across enormous landforms. Lakes appear beside the playing corridors, sometimes as hazards and sometimes as visual barriers. Deep revetted bunkers frame the fairways, while broad, undulating greens demand precision long after the ball has left the tee. And as the round progresses, the landscape becomes even more dramatic. The quarry emerges, massive rock formations begin to dominate the horizon, and the final holes unfolds around a deep ravine and large lake, creating a finishing unlike almost anything else in Indian golf. This is the Gary Player course at DLF Golf and Country Club, an 18-hole par 72 championship layout stretching 7,684 yards from the gold tees. Designed around dramatic landforms, large lakes, distinctive bunkerings, and expansive undulating greens, the course places a premium on decision making. The fairways may offer different routes, the greens may offer different targets, and sometimes the safest looking shot may leave the most difficult next one. From the opening tee to the final green, DLF continually asks for the golfer to read the landscape, understand the angles, and decide how much of the course to challenge. Because here, the challenge is not always visible in the distance. Sometimes it is hidden in the contours beneath your feet. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Bhupendra Singh. This is the story of DLF Golf and Country Club, hole by hole. The opening hole provides an inviting introduction to the Gary Player course, playing slightly uphill towards an elevated green. The generous landing area is framed by bunkers on both sides, encouraging a well positioned drive rather than simply maximum distance. From the fairway, the approach must negotiate bunkers guarding the left and gentle swale falling away to the right. The green appears receptive, but subtle internal contours can make putting more demanding than expected. The first hole establishes an important theme of DLF. The hazards define the target, but the contours determine the quality of the next shot. The second is a slight dogleg left with ample room from the tee, but the real decision comes on the approach. The greens offer distinctly different challenges. The left green plays a slightly longer and provides greater forgiveness, while the smaller right green sits substantially higher above the landing area and demands greater precision. The choice, therefore, influences both distance and trajectory. A generous tee shot can be deceptive because the approach still requires careful judgment of elevation and landing position. At DLF, even the target itself can become part of the strategy, with the golfer choosing between greater forgiveness and greater precision. At 252 yards, the third is a long uphill par 3 that immediately reveals the scale of the Gary Player course. The hole is framed by vegetation and leads towards a heavily contoured green. The safer target is the front right position, while a small but deep bunker protects the front left. At this distance, simply reaching the putting surface is an achievement, but finding the correct section is equally important. The contours can turn a good tee shot into a difficult first putt. Birdie requires precise distance control. For most players, par is the sensible objective on this demanding one shot hole. The first par 5 is a 570-yard test that rewards positioning as much as distance. Two small pot bunkers guard the left side of the demanding area, while a large maintaining bunker defines the right. From there, the second shot travels through a narrow avenue framed by trees before opening towards the green. Three bunkers protect the putting surface, but the greater challenge lies within it. Three distinct elevations create separate pin positions, meaning an approach can find the green yet leave a difficult putt from the wrong level. The objective is therefore not simply to reach the green, but to arrive at the correct part of it. The fifth is one of the defining holes of the Gary Player course. At 190 yards, the tee shot must carry to an island green surrounded by water, making commitment and distance control essential. The putting surface is generous with relatively gentle contours, so a properly judged approach can leave a realistic two putt. The challenge comes entirely from the tee, where there is little opportunity to recover from an inaccurate shot. Once safely on the green, however, the character changes. Looking down the lake towards the eighth green, the golfer is rewarded with one of the course's most memorable settings, where challenge and landscape come together. The sixth is the first hole alongside the lake and stroke index 1 test. At 446 yards, the fairway slopes strongly from right to left, while surrounding contours partially conceal both the left side of the landing area and the right side of the green. Position from the tee is therefore crucial. The green is long and narrow, requiring several clubs of difference between its front and back sections. A long, meandering bunker guards the left, while a large swale protects the right. Direction and distance must both be controlled precisely, making the sixth a complete test of positioning, approach accuracy, and recovery. The seventh begins with an uphill tee shot before turning into a downhill approach. The landing area is relatively narrow, encouraging a controlled drive that establishes a favorable position for the second shot. The green is severely contoured with a large grassy hollow guarding the entire front left and reducing the effective landing area. From the tee, the hole can appear relatively straightforward, but the approach reveals its subtleties. Elevation, landing position, and the contours of the putting surface all influence the result. The seventh rewards a player who understands that precision rather than power creates the best opportunity. The eighth is a 566-yard par 5 with water running along the entire right side. From the elevated tee, the fairway appears narrower than it really is, creating an immediate psychological challenge. The key decision comes with the second shot. Two large bunkers sit beyond the second landing area, while staying closer to the water creates the preferred angle into the green. Players attempting to reach the green in two must therefore balance distance against the lake. Moving away from the water provides safety but weakens the approach angle. Challenge the water, and the architecture rewards you with a better opportunity. The ninth is the shortest par 4 on the outward nine, but its 357 yards conceal a demanding risk and reward decision. From the elevated tee, four fairway bunkers guard the landing area while the lake runs along the right and towards the front of the green. A conservative tee shot reduces the immediate danger but leaves a more demanding approach. An aggressive line can shorten the hole while bringing the hazards firmly into play. The green is heavily contoured, making precise positioning essential. The ninth, therefore, closes the outward nine with a simple question: how much risk is worth taking for the chance of a birdie? The tenth begins the inward nine with an uphill dogleg right. demanding an accurate tee shot to establish both position and visibility for the approach. At 476 yards, distance alone is not enough. The preferred line opens a clearer view towards the small, slightly elevated green which remains partially concealed from the fairway. The putting surface is receptive and gently contoured, but the surrounding hazards narrow the effective target. A large bunker protects the left while native grasses guard the right. The tenth, therefore, rewards a tee shot that creates the right angle as much as one that gains distance. From here, the course begins asking a different question. Not simply where can you hit the ball, but where should the next shot come from? At 402 yards, the 11th is a short, sporty par 4 that offers one of the most engaging strategic choices on the inward nine. The conservative option is to play safely short or towards the right, accepting a more demanding approach into the green. The aggressive alternative is to challenge the green directly, bringing the greenside bunkers, severe contours, and out of bounds along the left into play. The reward is significant, but so is the consequence of poorly judged line. The putting surface itself is highly contoured, meaning that even a successful approach must finish in the right position to create a realistic birdie opportunity. The 11th asks a simple question. Can you justify the risk simply because the green is within reach? The 12th is the shortest hole on the card and, with a stroke index of 18, appears to offer the easiest opportunity of the round. Yet, the architecture gives the golfer two distinctly different targets. From the elevated tees, the hole plays to two greens separated by a large, meandering bunker. The right hand green is larger and divided into three levels, while the left is smaller with gentler contours. Collection areas and bunkers surround both surfaces, making the correct club essential. Wind can also become a significant factor from the elevated tee. At 178 yards, the temptation is to treat the hole as straightforward, but the real challenge lies in choosing the right target, judging the wind, and finding the correct level of the green. The 13th is a relatively short par 4 by DLF standards, but the tee shot immediately narrows the available options. At 421 yards, the fairway is tight and well protected, making a precise tee shot essential for a favorable approach. From the fairway, the green becomes the dominant challenge. Multiple elevations, deflective contours, and demanding pin positions create a putting surface where attacking the flag can quickly become a costly decision. The correct strategy is often to resist the temptation to be aggressive. A well positioned tee shot, followed by a controlled approach towards the appropriate section of the green, offers the best chance of making par or better. Here, discipline is not defensive golf, it is intelligent golf. At 550 yards, the 14th is an extraordinary par 4 and one of the defining tests of inward 9. Two substantial shots are required to reach the green, while out of bounds runs along the entire left side. To the right, strong contours and native grasses further restrict the ideal playing corridor. The tee shot therefore demands both power and control, because finding the fairway is only useful if the ball also creates a favorable approach angle. The green initially appears relatively benign, but subtle contours become increasingly important as the approach reaches the putting surface. The preferred line favors the left side, allowing the natural slopes to feed the ball towards the center. As the stroke index 2 hole, the 14th demands two exceptional shots and offers very little reward for anything less. At 631 yards, the 15th is the longest hole on the Gary Player course and a genuine three shot proposition for many players. The tee shot is best positioned towards the fairway bunker, gaining a clearer view of the green and the second landing area. From there, the fairway gradually narrows towards the green while out of bounds runs along the entire right side. The approach becomes increasingly demanding as the green comes into view. Its right side is partially blind, while two large bunkers and strong contours protect the left. Even a successful approach leaves the golfer facing an extremely undulating putting surface. For those considering reaching the green in two, the opportunity is tempting, but the narrowing corridor increases the consequences. The 15th rewards those who know when to attack and when to manage. The 16th marks the beginning of DLF's most dramatic stretch, the quarry becoming an imposing part of the landscape. At 273 yards, this is a monster downhill par 3 played towards a heavily protected green. From the elevated tee, both distance and wind must be judged carefully, while the visual presence of the quarry can make the target appear even more intimidating. The preferred line favors the left side of the green, where the natural contours can feed the ball towards the center. The strategy is therefore not simply to aim at the flag, but to use the ground to reduce the margin for error. Yet, one principle overrides everything else: avoid the quarry. Here, the landscape is not scenery, it is a part of the strategy. The 17th introduces a different form of pressure, where the challenge lies as much in what the golfer cannot see as in what lies directly ahead. At 414 yards, the tee shot requires careful club selection and precise positioning before the approach climbs towards an uphill, partially blind putting surface. The landing position determines the angle into the green, while the concealed target makes distance control particularly important. The dramatic setting can encourage an aggressive decision, but the architecture rewards patience and preparation. With a stroke index of 4, the 17th demands two quality shots and leaves little room for a poorly considered approach. The best shot here begins before the swing, with a clear decision about where the ball needs to finish. The 18th provides a dramatic conclusion to the Gary Player course. At 624 yards, it is one of the longest par 5s on the layout, beginning with a tee shot across a deep ravine. The view is intimidating, yet the fairway provides more room than appears from the tee, rewarding a committed drive that simply keeps the ball in play. From there, alignment becomes increasingly important as the large lake dominates the landscape and influences the route towards the green. The approach leads to a large but heavily contoured putting surface with several distinct pin positions and demanding recovery areas. After 18 holes, the final challenge brings together the course's central lessons. Control the risk, understand the land, choose the correct line, and commit to the shot. At DLF, the land never stays in the background. It rises beneath the fairways, falls away beside the greens, disappears into the lake, and finally emerges as a rock and quarry around the closing stretch. And that is perhaps what makes the course so compelling. The golfer is never playing against the distance alone. Every shot is influenced by something else: the lie beneath the ball, the angle of the fairway, the shape of the green, the position of the hazard, or the temptation to take on just a little more than what the course is offering. From the island green of the fifth to the lake, quarry, and ravine of the closing holes, the Gary Player course continually asks the same question: what is the shot worth risking? Sometimes the answer is to attack, sometimes it is to wait. And sometimes the best golf comes from understanding that the course has already shown you the right way to play it. That is the character of DLF Golf and Country Club, a course where the landscape does not simply surround the game, it becomes the game. I am Bhupendra Singh, and this is the Golfing Circle.